Hey everyone, Nick in the States here, and today is a little twofer, but mainly it's to show off the Yamaha THR 10C. Cool, awesome little 10-watt desktop amplifier, and an excuse to pull out my 58 ES-225, which is amazingly one of the cleanest guitars I own, and also has probably one of the best playing necks. And it's, 57 years old. Further proof that nobody builds them like they used to, but she's a lot of fun. Single P90, it's a Lawler pickup, original wiring harness with a late model replacement Bigsby put on it to give you those nice little like. It's funny, the middle position kind of is in some ways limiting, but in some ways you can get a lot out of it. It just, you got to make her work a little hard. All right, I've rigged with it's a dashboard suction cup for your phone for GPS. I've stuck it to this picture that I slipped on its edge, so that hopefully right now you're also seeing the knobs on the amp. And the really cool thing about the amp is they've got a couple different models. They've got a couple different models. They've got a normal one, which is their jack of all trades, so it's got everything from super clean to a little dirty to classic rock to all the way up to metal, and a slightly different array of options as we go through the tone settings. And I don't intend this to be an end-all be-all. Really, this is just a video because in a great number of the end-user YouTube videos that I watch for different types of gear, there's one of these in some variety sitting in the background responsible for the tone that you're hearing in the camera. So if you're going to make videos and record yourself playing and whatnot, it's a great volume and level output to capture on a camera without having to get too crazy with mix downs and everything else. I know, at least for me, I do my videos reasonably quickly. I've got a lot of work. I've got a wife. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I tend to need about 7 or 8 hours sleep a night. So anything that can make this process easier. This lamp helps a lot, and it also the amps behind me are kind of loud. Kind of piss off my wife, and they don't get a chance to get fully exercised. And while they all sound pretty good down low, this amp is really tuned for that, sitting direct in front of it, 5 or 6 feet away from the amp, and it's you're playing, you're practicing it, and doing some of the features. So that's why it's really kind of a cool thing for a couple hundred, $200 or $300, depending on where you buy it. I think I bought mine with a best offer for $193, $195 on eBay, brand new in the box, still sealed. So really kind of cool. And the concept is, if you look here, you've got a bunch of, this is the C, so it's more like classic rock / blues. And if you look, there's a bunch of inspired amp selections. And go look at the Yamaha link. I'll put a link to some of the docs and video stuff from them. But really they took, instead of just DSPing and trying to mimic just the amp, they tried to mimic the componentry that makes up the amp and how they interact. And also, if on the amp, the bass, middle, treble knobs really don't do a whole lot, which on like the Brit Blues, which is your Marshall Blues Breaker kind of thing, they didn't. They don't do a whole lot on here. Kind of neat. So anyway, let's get started with just the basic stuff. If you look, the first one here, it's the Lux. It's kind of like an old Fender Deluxe. And it's really clean, so even when I crank up the gain, it doesn't really get dirty. So it really functions as like the clean channel of the amp, but it's a clean channel that behaves like a tube amp does. The other thing that's interesting is the master. So the master replicates, like if you've had a tube amp that has a master volume on it, it allows you to crank the master output, but there's a separate volume for what you hear out of it. So I can turn the volume down, and you're just going to have a quieter representation of what Yamaha thinks driven tubes sound like. So with that, you kind of get an idea of, that's your clean, gives you the basic things. Going across, and now you get your gain, your master. We can put that back to 12. bass middle treble, which is neat because I'm especially like the Dr. Z Mini inspired setting. That had a single knob, so now you can tweak the sound even more. You've got an effect knob, a delay and a reverb, and these are tweaked specifically to the C. So it's a tape delay or tape echo, so it's not as lush of an echo. No, I ain't too loud. Because the other thing is the Deluxe is a lot quieter, so you got to drive it a little more. Can't really hear it there very much, so let me do that. I'm going to tap so I can change the duration. It's really not a whole lot of echo there. If I can, anyway, you get a nice little idea of the echo there. The nice thing is it's tap tunable. Alright, so the Deluxe is kind of your baseline. Class A, I believe, is based on a matchless, and this is where you got to really kind of adjust the knobs. That's the one thing. From amp to amp, you definitely have to do some work on it, but it's designed to kind of sit in front of you and you're going to play it in that setting for a long time. It's not a good switching between amp tones. There's no foot switches. There's no that kind of stuff. So, now, if I go here, I'm going to drive the master up. This is that. It's a real clean, full-sounding, British type circuit from the matchless, inspired by a matchless amp kind of setting. Yamaha's take on it. And it's kind of nice, but the nice thing about this little guy is if I really drive this one out, you really get like a good gritty. Out of it, and it's a nice, cool, Britishy kind of vibe. If I really just dime it out, back the guitar and output volume out a little bit, but it gets really kind of gritty, almost to like a frib. That you're going to get on a fully driven, something like that. So I back them off a little bit. You can also scoop it. So all bass, all treble, no mid. My go-to, I abuse the hell out of that riff. It's just fun. Especially in something that's like a Marshall, Tony thing. So, kind of neat that way. Back to 12-ish, unscoop out middle here. Next one is US Blues, and this is kind of your Fendery kind of driven bassman, something like that. So, drive it though, it's not that, I prefer a Marshall driven tone anyway, so I guess it lines up to my own preference. But you can get a lot of get a lot of those nice driven. I like Fender amps anyway with single tone, and this kind of maps up to that. It sounds really good with single tone guitars, single coil guitars. I watched the Super Bowl last night. I'm a little slow. Last one's Brit Blues, or second last, and this is. Which gives you a lot of those, more Marshall blues breaker driven tones. Also, you can really drive it. it's that. And then the last little one on the guitar side is just this little Dr. Z mini clone. And it's a hellacious little tone. It's a lot of fun. Also, there's a bass setting, so it basically more flat lines, more true. So if you have a bass and you want to just be able to funk around with it, maybe some slap bass or whatever, it's kind of cool. It has an acoustic setting, which once again is more like it's more realistic. It's not so boosted on some of the highs, and then a flat, which is really don't do anything tone. But that's so you can, when you're like, if you want to use this just as a desktop speaker, run your computer into it. That's a more hi-fi, full range stereo audio kind of thing. The nice thing is there are two little speakers in here. It's 10 watts. There's a cool tube glow from 2 orange LEDs, simulate 2. So effects, and we'll just go through these kind of quickly just so you get an idea. Your standard chorus. Now let's go over and give us a little select section. There, and there. So you can get a fair amount of chorus out of it if you're into that kind of thing. And the nice thing with these knobs is they're like progressive, so from here it's just a little bit. But as I turn it up, right there, if I knew it, I would have played the intro to Paradise City, which I think is chorusy. Has a nice little flanger action too. Next we've got a little phaser. If you want to make music to get busy in brown rug, brown walled corduroy fashion, you get a good 70s vibe out of that. And the last is a pretty good tremolo too. And what the camera may not be capturing completely is that it's a nice stereo effect back and forth from that shimmer. Alright, so I can kill those, and then you have your delays, so a nice little tape echo, so. And you can get a little slapback. And you've got a reverb / echo, which I'll just go kind of the max. So let's put it back a little. It's kind of lush. It's fun for just like spacing out at the end of a long day. Couple different reverbs. A spring reverb, which is nice. We can even drive a little bit more. Although I think I just missed. Let's go back a little. And then a hall reverb, which if we're maxed out. Back that off a little and you get that like so that's kind of the basics of it. There's also some presets. You can do some mumbo jumbo where you plug it in your computer and preload tones and all that kind of stuff. But the cool thing about this amp is you don't need to. I think there's noise gates, some echo tweaking, some other choices on cabs and everything else for what it simulates. Sweet, I may screw with it, but honestly, one of the reasons why I don't like my Amplify 150 is I have to use an iPad to get so much out of it. Whereas with this, I can just have it sit there, I plug in, I play for my 15-20 minutes, and I'm on my merry way. It's got an input, it's got a headphone output, which is a 1/4 inch. It's got an 1/8 inch stereo auxiliary input, so you can jam along to it. It sounds really good. It's powered by a funky little power brick thing, so not your classic amp power cable.
Here's where I seamlessly insert something I forgot after watching the video that I had just recorded. One more thing, the awesome thing is it has a USB input to your computer, which is both how you do your presets and mess with that, but also it acts as a sound recording device, so you can plug it into GarageBand or the included Cubase, I believe it is, and you're able to then record the sound as the amp is, so a simulated cab kind of setting. But they raise it one step further as a kind of a direct input device in that you get 2 channels. So one of the channels that'll come into your recording software is the sound as you hear it coming out of the speaker, and the other one, so the wet as they call it, and the other sound is dry, which is just the guitar input there. So that if you played it awesome, but you think, in a different section you want to do crazy echo and have GarageBand, Logic, Pro Tools, whatever, really crank your sound out, you have the unmessed with guitar tone there to then drive, put it through amp simulation, do whatever you want with it. I forgot to mention this before. So now you know, and I return you to the video wrapping up, already in progress, I promise.
But the wonderful thing about it is it's also battery powered. It takes 8 AA batteries. You get, I think, 6 or 8 hours of play out of it. Honestly, I haven't played very much with it that way, but it's really neat. We've had a couple big snowstorms, and I was like, well, if we get killed, I can still sit and play guitar out of my little battery-powered amp, and it makes me happy. So, fun amp. Kind of dig it. It's a good little addition to the collection. One of these days, I'll do a review of the Mesa Rectiverb 50 that I got around Christmas time. I've used the Black Star a few times. If you haven't seen those, they're awesome amps. The Amplify 150, I'm still not in love with it. Dave's in Texas got one. He's really been having a lot of fun with it. We were chatting about it the other day. Check out his video because he's got a really good full review of his and a lot of the features there, and there's a lot to that amp. If you're going to get one, I would not get one without an FBV2 because it really lets you get the most out of the amp. Anyway, I'm blathering at this point. Thanks for swinging by, though. Thanks for giving me an excuse to bring out this old beauty. Give her a little bit of a rundown, and I guess that's about it. So as usual, I'm Nick in the States, and I have issues. Thanks for coming by.